Hi, my name is Brendan Brown. I am the singer, songwriter, and producer and engineer for the band Wheatus.
Okay, well, my name is Kevin, and I play the drums.
My name is Matthew Milligan. I played bass on the Lightning EP, specifically a 5-string fretless upright bass only on these songs.
My name is Gerard Hoffman, and I performed the keyboards on the record.
The idea was to just keep the recording process musical and have the record making process remain musical and never become a computer process, which is what we did. It worked, and we'll continue doing that because it's much more enjoyable than staring at a computer screen all day.
I would say that recording this project is a lot different than a lot of the projects that I've worked on, meaning that we recorded everything to 2-track, basically.
I didn't want to let the computer be the thing that made the music. I wanted the band to spend more time actually making the music and performing the music, so we took the computer out of the picture as much as we could.
I think these tracks, when you listen to them, definitely have a feeling of life and energy in the performances that you can't get so much when all of you are playing at different times. It's the kind of thing that can really only happen when a group of musicians are all playing together live. But it requires a lot more work to get to that point, of course, because everyone has to get the song perfect. You have to have everybody playing perfect takes.
It's in a lot of situations you go in and you lay down a track and you're done, and the engineer mixes it later, you know. In better situations, the engineer spends a little more time with you getting a really great sound, so he has to do less mixing after the fact. In the great situation, which is I guess what we have here, we tweak everything so they'll work in a 2-track context immediately.
The instrumental tracks were recorded 2-track straight to the DSD system, and those instrumentals were kept as they were when we performed them. So it's effectively a live record with the vocals overdubbed on tracks 3 and 4.
I think listening to them, you would never guess that they were performed live by 4 people. They sound much, much, much bigger than that. And so that's something I'm proud of, because I think we really accomplished something amazing there with how big we can get 4 people playing live in a room to sound.
We spent hours and hours and months and years getting these sounds right, because since we were recording, you know, in this 2-track fashion, everything had to sound perfect when we did the take.
You can spend so much time on a single song, on a single piece of a single song, and not get anywhere. You know, I couldn't even tell you how many times we played the chorus of From Listening to Lightning just over and over again until we got it to sound right. But when you come in and you're working 10 or 12-hour sessions, and in a 12-hour day you play the same, 20-second snippet of music over and over and over again, it can be really tedious and really challenging.
I don't know, I was at a wake for a friend, and his father used to tell him, if you're bored with something, you don't understand it, right? And there are parts of the process that can seem very boring because we're not playing. We're lost in technical minutia trying to get things right. And, you know, if you really open up and try to understand these things, you understand how necessary it is. So, and how it affects the overall outcome of the art that you're helping create.
From Listening to Lightning is the title track or the opening track of the EP, of the first EP, and it's a sort of a scenery of Northport here on Long Island when I was a kid, and there was a satanic ritual, drug-induced satanic ritual homicide here. Some teenagers killed one of their friends in the woods near my house when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and you know, it was a significantly impacting event here in this small town, and you know, it set me off on a life course that unfolded to the point that I'm at now at the age of 35. And I realized more and more thinking about that whole event that wasn't just something that happened. It was something that happened and affected the rest of my life. I wasn't even allowed to go to Northport High School because of the drug problems and stuff like that. So I wound up going to a boys' school about an hour away from here, and you know, it's just the course of my life was deeply affected by that event. So I wanted to try and analyze it a little bit as an adult.
Grew up in a seaside town where the devil lives. Bonfire light in the woods at night, said to be afraid. Down the block past the sweet shop, kids dipped in dust. Up the street from the cops, always look the other way. Took my boy away.
It's also a sort of a discussion of, you know, the notion of blaming violence on the media or on music or something like that. The primary suspect was arrested wearing an AC/DC t-shirt, and I had a tape case full of AC/DC cassettes, and I was questioned by my mother, by my parents, after the newspaper stories came out about what they were listening to and all that stuff, and it just is so ridiculous to me that, you know, I mean, there's 99.999% of AC/DC fans do not kill anybody, you know. I just wanted to explore the stupidity of and the insufficient minds that conjure up those blame games and that stupid nonsense.
It was cool. It was very challenging for a while, but once we were getting into the groove of things, it got to be pretty fun. And then every time we did a take, once we got all the sounds right, once we got to takes, it was a challenge each time, just doing it right, not making a mistake. So that one was definitely the hardest one I think we did.
I think the song overall resonates with me deeply because I grew up, for the most part, on Long Island, and I feel it's a very I feel like Lightning's a song that could only come out of Long Island for some reason. The combination of influences and the backstory and who Brendan is and how he wrote the song. Lightning is definitely a special piece of music.
and it took forever to get that song right. I remember we spent days, literally days, learning the part, and then figuring out how to perform together the bridge of that song. All those different little key changes and that crazy run at the end. It was just an insane process to get all that right.
I fucked up the end. What was that clank?
That was me hitting this metal thing.
Scared the fuck out of me.
Sorry, dude.
We kind of knew that some people weren't going to like it as much as others, but from my perspective, it's not necessarily my favorite song on the EP, but I think it's the most tremendous achievement on the EP. I think it's really a testament to how capable Brendan is as a songwriter. He really can stretch and do just about anything that he wants.
Yeah, it's pretty happening.
Yeah, that is fucking happening. You and Your Stupid Guitar is just one of those literal Wheatus songs. Just a literal narrative, which we have had in the past plenty of inside of a pop tune.
You and Your Stupid Guitar, that's a great example of how much something can change during the process. Brendan played me that song acoustic forever ago, and I liked it, but again, acoustic, especially on that track, you can't really understand what he was actually going for. And I'll never forget, we were in the studio and we were just starting that song, and Brendan instructed Gerard and Kevin how to do that intro with the synth line and the drum beat.
You know, when Brendan was like, you know, hey Gerard, you know, do this key thing, and then Kevin, you know, I want you to do like this tom thing, and you know, just make it sound really tight, and you know, very like you know, coming at you like the Cars, you know. And I was just like, oh, it's gonna be awesome.
And they started playing that part, and that was so far in my mind from the acoustic version he had played me that I was just so blown away that that was how it went. It was just not that way in my head at all. It had been like that in Brendan's head, of course, but I didn't know. And I absolutely love the way that song came out.
And it came together pretty easily. I think it was basically just because the track was so fun to play. And yeah, it's a good one. I like that one. I like that big fill. Yeah, good stuff.
We're not allowed to talk about who the band is, but all the lyrics in that song are true. The Matt is me. It was actually before I was even in the band. I was meeting Brendan. We were just getting to know each other before I actually joined. And that scenario came up and the song was made.
Yeah, I mean, it's a true story. I'm not gonna name names. That's all. Real Girl, I wrote during a wedding. I was actually in New Jersey for a wedding, and you know, the notion of forever perfect love and stuff was floating around. It being a wedding and all, and so that's where that came from. But it's loosely based on, you know, again, being stuck in this sort of small town and having this sort of one-day fantasy that somebody in the big city will be right for you, because obviously no one here in the small town is. And that's a grander theme in the whole Real Girl thing.
Real Girl, yes, another one that we worked on over tour, and we spent a lot of time getting that arrangement correct. And I think we were working on it maybe actually first.
We were on tour in America. We were playing a show in Buffalo, New York, and I was hanging out at the merch stand with Missy, I think, and Brendan like grabbed me and pulled me backstage and played me Real Girl, which he had just written, I guess, a couple days before. Played me like the first verse and the first chorus, which was all he had at that point in time. And that was a track where instantly, just acoustic, I knew that was a winner.
And that's a really good song. It's just a good song. It's fun to play because it's a good song.
You know, I mean, it should be pretty obvious that the girl in the narrative is the Wicked Witch of the West, and of course New York City is west of here. So anyway, that's the story of Real Girl. The song Now is sort of an oddball for us on this record. During the recording of the Lightning EP, we weren't sure if there was going to be 5 or 6 songs on it, and so there was one more song that we were working on that was sort of undeveloped at the time, and then it's going to wind up being on the second EP, which is the Jupiter EP. But at the time, I received an email during the recording of the Lightning EP from a guy named Andrew Robinson, who was making a film and was asking if I could help him get Love Is a Mutt from Hell into his movie, because he was having trouble getting a call back from the powers that be.
We were going to give it to him, but the thing was that we couldn't give him that track specifically because Sony still owns those masters, so we couldn't give him Love Is a Mutt. We offered to re-record it for him, and he said that was great, and we started working on it. And as we were working on it, Brendan was sending him some of the new songs, and it wound up that instead of using Love Is a Mutt, he wound up wanting to use You and Your Stupid Guitar instead for the opening sequence, and we thought that was great. It's a new song in a movie, we were really psyched about that.
And we got to talking a little bit, and I got to know him, and as it turned out, he was making a film about the Columbine Massacre in 1999, and I came to find out that he's actually a survivor of the Columbine event. He was there that day. It was his high school. He was a high school student there, and then after that, a couple months later, he called me up again, and he said, "I can't get permission for this song to be in the end of the movie. Can you do something? Can you write something for it?" And I went, oh my God, I don't know. It turned out the scene he was referring to was a funeral dirge at the end of the movie, and I was just like, oh man, I've never done anything like this before. This is really dark and very scary and depressing, and there's all sorts of catharsis happening, and I was really worried that I would come up short, and so I sat with the scene on my laptop during the shortest days of the year in January, in December, January, and it was dark and scary outside, and I just sat and watched this scene over and over again, and wrote Now off of the scene, and that was how that happened. Now is actually a soundtrack piece.
And he goes up there and he says what he says, which is, I screwed up. I'm really sorry. a guarantee. So it's what you do with now that matters.
Brendan and Andrew talked on the phone for a long, long time about Andrew's experiences in Columbine and about what he went through and what the aftermath was like, so Brendan could get an idea of how the song should go. And then we did that track really, really fast. It was on a break. The band wasn't working at the time. So Brendan called me.
Matthew came over after I got the basic track recorded, and we worked on this really sort of complex layered bow bass parts that sound somewhere between a cello and a double bass.
We did a full, like a 22-hour recording session. I stayed here. We worked all night long, and we got it done.
We finally finished it, and they accepted it for the film, and it wound up in the movie, which I was really proud of. And now it's on the DVD. You can buy the April Showers DVD on aprilshowersmovie.com and other places. But yeah, that was how Now came to be, and it wound up providing a nice little break in the Wheatus record. It's kind of like a turn of the page where it sits right there halfway through the EP. We're gonna do something weird. Can you go to the piano sound for Full Amoeba? Yeah.
It's kind of this like fake soca. It's got this interesting thing going on, and that was cool to get that together. And Gerard has this, he's playing 6 over the top of it. It's like a 12/8, passage, which is why it's a fake soca, because socas are 4 or 8. And so it's very Caribbean sounding, but it has more of an African-based take on it. At least that's where I'm coming from on the drums for those verses, and the choruses are obviously lush and cool and just very, again, another song where you can really space it out. And here come the sirens. They're coming for me.
If You Need a Friend is a really old song. I wrote that song in maybe 97, maybe 1997. Very old song. It predates Wheatus, in fact. And I always wanted to use it, but I just didn't have lyrics. I couldn't complete the lyrics. It was so hard to complete the lyrics.
If You Need a Friend, that song we whipped up so fast. For some reason, there was pressure to get that song that quickly.
We didn't have a lot of time on that song, and Brendan wasn't even sure of the arrangement yet. He knew most of it, but he didn't know how the song was going to end.
Was that the one where we didn't really know how the ending was going to go?
And we recorded it with a couple different endings, like a couple different sort of extended. We did one completely different sort of jam where we went back to the verse part. That's somewhere in our lives, I don't know where. And we just did it a bunch of different ways. And I remember leaving that track being really concerned with how little it was developed. I just didn't know how it was, I had almost no idea how that song was going to actually sound.
I was worried that I wouldn't be able to finish the lyrics, but I kind of decided that I was going to force myself to finish the lyrics. And then in May of this year, 2009, I got an email, or maybe it was April or May. I got an email from somebody on Wheatus.com talking about how the original Wheatus artwork was up for sale on eBay. Now this was an oil painting that I had commissioned a friend of mine to do back in 1999 or the year 2000, May of 2000. I think it was like 9 years ago. And it was the original artwork that was scanned for the Wheatus album cover. And it changed hands a couple of times. It's unclear as to how it wound up in the hands of the scumbag who tried to sell it on eBay, but we got the police involved and I got my painting back, which was, sort of special. It was right around the time that happened that I was semi-obsessed with a documentary called Stolen, which is about a huge art theft that occurred at a museum in Boston. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum was robbed in 1990, I think, and they stole priceless works of art from Vermeer's The Concert, which I actually wound up mentioning in the song. But that all provided those two events, the art painting being returned to us and then me being obsessed with the Stolen documentary, it kind of happened at the same time and provided the finishing lyric to If You Need a Friend. And that was where that song came from. So that song was 11 or 12 years in the making, and finally got finished. Texas is also a very old song. It's just a kind of a literal narrative story in the older Wheatus tradition of just a girl I met once and the story that happened after that. So there isn't much else to it. She is from Texas.
Yeah, that was always one of my favorites. A very simple song, nothing too fancy, but a very simple and beautiful song. I like the lyrics a lot.
I don't know, it probably resonates a little bit with me. I was born in Houston, Texas. My mother's side of the family was down there. We always had like Texas-shaped cheese plates when we were growing up, and Texas flags are in the house. I really like Texas. I think Texas is I don't know. It's just, I think the ending of the song is quite beautiful.
And I thought that was the perfect closer for the EP. Just the way that song ends with that, that big hit, and then Gerard hits that keyboard note sound. It's just the most beautiful sounding chord to end the whole set of songs. I love that. I think that's great.
Texas, when we're playing Texas, I often think of when I was a kid and we were driving from Houston to, maybe we were driving from College Station to Dallas, or Houston to Dallas. We were bringing my cousin back to Texas A&M. The stars in Texas are really, I was laying in the back of my cousin's pickup truck, and that's what I think about when I play that song. I see the stars and that clear summer sky. I think just Texas is great. Definitely, that song definitely is a song that takes me someplace personally when we're performing it.
Well, I definitely, in regard to selling the Lightning EP or selling any Wheatus records from here on out, I don't want to go the old way ever again. I hate CDs. I think they're useless trash, and making them is very expensive and it's horrible for the environment, and people just wind up throwing them out. So it's useless plastic floating around, and it's not high quality. It doesn't sound good, and there are so many better options, and we decided that Wheatus.com, there's no reason that it shouldn't become a downloading page for our music and offer it for free or for donation, so that people could just kind of get to know the music a little bit before they actually decide to donate, or for people who really do believe in us and want to see us keep going, gave them an option to contribute to the cause. it was so awesome, such a success, and we're happy with it. And you know, if people keep donating and keep downloading, then we'll be able to continue with this band and make more records and do more tours and stuff, and not have to deal with any of the old school, you know, greaseball, pinky ring wearing douchebags who run record companies and are 56 years old and hate everybody and, you know, despise youth culture and are trying to bury it. And just we can stay away from all of that if we keep building this independent thing. And I don't really care how long it takes, but I'm so much more excited about the prospect of having that be the way that we put records out, and not go back to this, you know, fossilized version of putting CDs on shelves and stuff like that. That's just silly. We're actually in the studio right now working on Pop Songs and Death Volume 2, which has another a new batch of 6 new songs on it. And that's the second part of the Pop Songs and Death series. And I've been working on it just in the demo phase for a little while, and I know for a fact that it's actually, well, I like it better. Because I feel like we're getting better at getting these sounds into the DSD system, and also, you know, we're getting tighter as a band in terms of just delivering ideas and knowing how to master the stuff, and the arrangements and the themes are getting a little bit more exciting, I think, and the songs are more different from one another than they are on the Lightning EP, and they're gonna sound bigger and more in your face.
It's going to sound better. I don't doubt that for a second, because the methodology that Brennan's developing to produce these tracks is becoming more refined.
So far, I would say that the next EP is going to be slightly different. I think that it's going to be different in regards of sounds. The sounds, I believe, are going to be maybe a little bit warmer. We've changed out all the tubes in all of our things that we're recording through.
I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be it's going to be another different thing. I don't think people should be surprised at this point that Brendan doesn't like to repeat himself as a songwriter. I don't think any Wheatus release has really sounded like the one before it or the one after it. And in a similar fashion, I think that Pop Songs and Death Volume 2 will be similar to Volume 1, but it will not be the same.
And you know, some of the songs, I don't know if the songs are better, I'm not sure. It's hard. That's a hard thing for me to be able to say, but I'm more excited about them, and I'm more excited about the Jupiter EP than I was about the Lighting EP.
I like the fact that our new songs are challenging, and I think that it's a testament to our fans how open-minded and how just in love with music in general you have to be a Wheatus fan. You have to love it all, and you have to be willing to accept the fact that you're going to hear stuff that might catch you off guard and surprise you, and it's not what you expect. And I like that a lot. That's one of my favorite traits in bands, and I'm happy to be in a band that does that.
If we get to a point where we're playing these tracks live, like a circle will be completed. And if the material has touched the Wheatus fans and brought in more new fans, and we get to play them live and communicate the songs to the people in a live context, I mean, that's something that I look forward to. And I look forward to the next batch of songs coming out and see what gets conjured up from the process, you know.
The whole record was fun to do, obviously, even though, you know, like it was lots of hours of getting sounds. Takes were great, sounds are not great.
I enjoy making music with this group of guys, and I enjoy playing on Brendan's great songs. It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it.
I'm very grateful that I get to play and make music with these guys because it's really a privilege always. And I'm very happy with the Lightning EP. I really love the way it came out, and from these indications, from what we've seen so far, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to love Volume 2 even more. So be ready for it.
I just want to say thanks very much for hanging in there and supporting us the last 10 years. I know that we've been in and out of circulation a little bit, and you know that has a lot to do with us trying to figure out what was going on in the music industry and trying to find a place in it, which I think we finally have, and makes a lot of sense to me. And we'll tour whenever we can, but I just wanted to thank you and say that Wheatus.com is always open for anybody to come and talk about music, and as long as you're nice to each other and you don't act mean, then I'm sure you're going to enjoy it as much as we do. I just wanted to thank you again for supporting us and for making a series of EPs like this possible.